So just imagine fighting a legal battle for 20 years, and not against one person, but against what you believe is the entire system itself. Well, today we're going to break down an official memorandum that alleges just that, a 20-year accusation submitted by one man against the California legal system. And it kicks off with a truly powerful statement.
Wow. Right off the bat, this single sentence from the memorandum's author, Professor Dr. Mohamed Fayad, just sets the stage for everything. You know, he's not just saying, hey, a mistake was made, or I got bad service. No, he's alleging a fundamental breakdown of morality within the very profession that's meant to uphold it. So what on earth could possibly lead a person to this point?
Okay, so the first thing you really have to get your head around is that this is not some recent complaint. The document lays out a story that the author claims has been unfolding for 2 full decades. It paints a picture of this long, really tangled, and obviously deeply personal legal fight.
And just look at this timeline. The timescale here it's just wild. According to this memorandum, the alleged problems start all the way back in 2005. From there, it hits these key moments. You've got a settlement case with San Jose State University in 2008, some big court rulings in 2018, and it even points to alleged violations from a commissioner that are happening like right up to the present day. This timeline is so important because it shows you just how persistent and long-running this whole thing allegedly is. And the man at the very center of this 20-year saga? That's Professor Dr. Mohamed Fayad. He's a software engineering professor, and, this is a huge detail, he's representing himself. The courts call it pro per. What that means is, he's navigating this incredibly complicated legal maze all on his own, no lawyer by his side.
So who's actually on the receiving end of these accusations? I mean, this document isn't just making vague claims. It actually creates what it calls, and this is its own term, a blacklist of legal and judicial professionals who Professor Fayad claims have wronged him.
And get this, the scale of the accusation is just staggering. The memorandum talks about a collective corruption system that involves over 100 lawyers and their firms. So we're not talking about 1 or 2 bad apples here. This is a claim against a huge portion of the professionals he's dealt with over the years.
And it doesn't stop with the lawyers. No way. The accusations go right up to the bench, naming at least 4 judges and commissioners. And that really elevates the claims from simple professional malpractice to something much, much more serious, judicial misconduct.
The memorandum pulls no punches, specifically calling out who it labels the betrayers of professional honor. And look who's on the list. The judges from that 2008 university settlement, a small claims judge from 2018, and even a currently sitting judge and commissioner. I mean, that brings these allegations right into the here and now.
Okay, so here's where it gets even more detailed. Professor Fayad's memorandum doesn't just throw out a list of names. It actually tries to build a whole system, a kind of classification for the different types of corruption he believes he's been up against.
And he introduces this whole framework with a title that is, well, it's incredibly dramatic. He calls it the Hell of 100 Lawyers. Just that phrase alone tells you so much about the personal struggle and the feeling of complete betrayal that he describes in the document.
And this table here, it lays out his system perfectly. He sorts all these lawyers he's accusing into 4 different groups. First, you've got the traitors of the covenant. He claims they were secretly working for his opponent. Then, you have those involved in malicious litigation, filing bogus lawsuits. Third, the yellow smiled. These are people who allegedly took his case but then dropped it on some kind of secret orders. And finally, the thieves of money and dignity, who he says took his money just to actively work against him. I mean, these categories really paint a picture of a man who feels betrayed at every single turn, not by accident, but by deliberate, malicious intent.
So beyond the accusations and these systems of corruption, a huge chunk of this memorandum is all about the real-world impact, the devastating human cost of this whole 20-year ordeal.
And this chart really shows you what he's talking about. This devastating ripple effect. It's not just one part of his life that's been hit. He claims this alleged injustice has seeped into every single corner of his existence. His career, his health, his scientific work, his family, even his relationships with his students and colleagues. Everything.
And here's a really crucial point. He sees the damage as being so much bigger than just him. He claims his entire life's research, work he felt could have really benefited the world, was essentially buried and destroyed. He doesn't just call it a personal loss, he calls it a crime against scientific progress.
The memo also gets into the deep, personal toll. It talks about how his dream of leaving a proud legacy for his grandkids was twisted into a nightmare, and that now he actually fears for them, living in a system that he feels he just can't trust anymore.
So, okay, after laying out 20 years of these accusations and all this alleged personal damage, what's the endgame? What does the memorandum actually want? Well, it wraps up with a very clear, very direct, and pretty ambitious set of demands.
Basically, he's asking for 4 main things. First, a top-to-bottom federal investigation into all of this. Second, he wants specific court judgments against him overturned. These are called default judgments, when one side doesn't show up. Third, for any lawyers found guilty, he wants them to lose their licenses to practice law, for good. And finally, he's asking for a full restoration of his rights and, of course, financial compensation for everything he's lost.
Now look, those are some huge demands to make of any legal system. But to really put this all in perspective, you have to understand the sheer scale of the institution we're talking about. The California court system is the biggest in the entire country. It serves nearly 40 million people. And within that massive system, you've got more than 175,000 practicing lawyers. So while Professor Fayad's accusation against 100+ of them is a really sweeping claim, it's also the story of one single person standing up against this enormous professional machine.
And that really brings us to the final, critical question that a document like this leaves you with. The Fayad Memorandum. It's a detailed, powerful indictment from one man's point of view. And it raises this fundamental challenge, right? In a legal system this massive, this complex, how is any one person's claim of profound systemic injustice supposed to get a fair hearing? How is that voice ever meant to be heard?